Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? NoZoupForYou here, and I think it's pretty safe to say that we've jumped the shark in World of Warships. We've got so much random, crazy stuff going down the pipeline right now that I don't know. I just don't understand the direction that World of Warships is going. I mean, I understand that the game is, what, 6+ years old, and they want to keep it fresh, but I don't know if what they're doing is the right way to do it. I mean, there's so much stuff right now that I'm just shaking my head at. From submarines to the new support aircraft carriers, which fortunately certain aspects aren't going to make it out of testing because they just absolutely blew. And then, of course, super ships, which you're seeing actually the only round I have played in a super ship, and that's the Hanover. I played one single round in super ships. I've watched plenty of them. I've played against plenty of them. And for some reason, I just really didn't have the desire to play them at all. But yeah, I figured if I was going to talk about them, I might as well get the lay of the land and play in one and see what they're all about. And that's why I decided to play one round in them. And I've made my judgment, my personal judgment on them off of one round. And I have always said, and I've continued to say for the past 6 years, that the hallmark of a ship that is overpowered or powerful is the ability for anyone to jump in it and have a great round. And, you know, I went into this super ship not knowing anything about it, not knowing how to play it or anything else. And granted, I'm a decent player. I'm not going to say like I'm a superstar, but I'm a good player. I don't play as much as I used to. I get a little rusty every now and then, especially when I go a week or so without being able to play. But I'm okay. That being said, if I get a new ship, it usually takes me a couple rounds to figure that ship out, to have a decent round, to crack 100,000. That's with most normal ships. Well, this super ship, not the case. I jumped in it and did over 200,000 damage in my first and only round in it. And that is why I'm calling these stupid ships, because they're just stupid. They really... I know a lot of players don't think they should be in the game. I know a lot of players play them anyways. I know a lot of players play them. Some people like them, and that's fine. But personally, I think if you're a good player, it's really a low-effort type of ship. It is a tier 11. If you know what you're doing, you're going to rack up damage in them and just really... I don't know. You'll see in this round. I mean, the secondaries on the Hanover are insane. They're like a regular German battleship secondaries on steroids. And I just don't think they have a place in this game, especially for good players, because you can jump in them and do really good with minimal to no effort whatsoever. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So yeah. Super ships are stupid ships. And, we're adding more. We're continuing to add more. The devlog said that, you've got super cruisers for Germany coming out soon. And for those of you that have played against super cruisers, they can be a pain in the ass. If you're in a destroyer or anything else, it just seems that they have a very, very high rate of fire and can just pump it out. And I know they're not invulnerable, and in the wrong hands, these ships are fairly easy to take out. But for any player that is average or better, they're going to do good in these ships with minimal effort, and that is not healthy for the game. Having these flying around is not healthy for the game, but that's not the only thing that's not healthy for the game. Let's just look at submarines right now. They got a massive buff to their torpedoes. I pay attention to what's going on Facebook and Reddit and everywhere else, and a lot of people are complaining about submarines right now. Tons of people. Actually, I think more people are complaining with the current iterations of submarines right now than have in the past. That should be a warning sign right now. That should be a hint to wargaming that, hey, something is not right with these ships. Something's not happening. I mean, player dissatisfaction is very, very high right now from what I've seen. Now, it doesn't mean the game's dying or people aren't playing the game as much, but it does mean that there are internal issues. It does mean that it warrants investigation by Wargaming, and they need to take a very close and hard look at this. I mean, let's move on to support carriers. And fortunately, some of the stuff that they tried with this, some of the cockamamie ideas like stun bombs didn't work. Just were silly ideas. Stun bombs. I mean, what is this, like an EMP or something? I mean, seriously. Wargaming went on to say the main purpose of these new squadrons and the initial concept was to help allies damage enemy ships with fires and floods, as well as to block enemy consumable use. The base idea of an armament that allows you to help your allies deal damage while simultaneously having that damage reflected into your own stats was liked by test participants. So basically, the players that were playing these aircraft carriers liked the idea of not having to do damage, but get damage anyways. That's the way I read that. That's what I read. Meaning, if you stun a ship and they can't use a certain consumable to put a fire out or something else that another ship sets, you're going to get that damage as well. So basically, low effort right there. Very low effort. However, many players found the mechanics of stun bombs to be unsuitable for our game, which was further confirmed by actual test results. The main problems with stun bombs were their excessive effectiveness in combat against low mobility targets, as well as the lack of any mechanisms to counteract the effects of these bombs. This made battles where players were up against stun bombs an unpleasant experience for most. Taking into account both the test results and your feedback, we decided to abandon the current stun bomb design and begin developing alternative mechanics and interactions for support aircraft carrier squadrons. So, at least bravo Wargaming for recognizing and realizing that this was not a good idea. But the fact remains, how did this idea even make it in the first place? It has no historical basis whatsoever. I know that they want to get certain aircraft carriers back in the game that once existed in the game and then disappeared when they went to the alternating tiers for them. But some of this stuff, just bizarre. Stun bombs. I mean, really. Who would have thought of that? Who thinks in their right mind that that is a good idea for the health of the game? And I just, thankfully, Wargaming had the common sense to listen to the feedback on this one, because it just would have been stupid. And moving on to smoke generator and chaff consumables, that's actually a decent idea for aircraft carriers. Support consumables receive mostly positive feedback. And, you know, anytime testing goes on, you've got a mixture of players from the below average all the way up to the super unicum. And that's why you have feedback that just kind of ranges from, you know, this is a really stupid idea to, oh, I love this. This is good. Give me free damage. And that's what it is. But fortunately, support aircraft carriers in their current iteration aren't going to make it in the game. However, we have already touched on the fact that Superships in their current iteration are going to make it in the game, and they're only going to cost players about 60 million balloons. Wow, that would be very, very expensive. Credits, 60 million credits, which it might seem a lot for players, but for players that have basically every single tier 10, they're probably rolling around with upwards of 100 million credits, and you know, it's not going to hurt them to get that or purchase one. So yeah, I might get one. I don't know. I feel that Superships are kind of low effort. I have no personal attachment to them. I think they're a silly concept. I think, you know, a quote-unquote tier 11 ship that's denoted by a star rather than tier 11. I mean, why not just make another tier and have tier 11 in the game? Why not just do that? I mean, that makes the most sense. It doesn't hide the fact of what you're doing. You know, if every single line's going to have battleships and super cruisers and everything else, it is tier 11. I mean, why not just make a tier 11? Why hide it behind the BS name of super ships or super carriers or super cruisers? I mean, it's disingenuous at the most. But yes, these ships do have an advantage in the hands of a player that knows what they're doing. Fortunately, though, I think a lot of better players are probably going to pass on these just because they are low effort. I mean, I really had no measurement of fun when I played this round in Hanover. It was just boring, kind of dull. I mean, it's like low effort, minimal effort, everything else. So, I don't know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Superships, though, what you think about them. I want to know what you think about the current iteration of Submarines, if you've been playing them. Tell me what you think about them, if you think they're healthy for the game where they're at. And I also want to know your thoughts on these support aircraft carriers. What would you like to see in support aircraft carriers? What direction do you think wargaming should go in with these support aircraft carriers? Do you feel that more aircraft carriers are going to be good for the game in a different role that might increase the interaction between other aircraft carriers and supporting your ships? Or do you think players are just going to ignore the support functions like most do anyways, and it's just going to be another worthless type of ship playing for themselves? I don't know. I don't know at this point. I'm interested to hear what you think, though. I've laid out my thoughts on all this, and it's not very rosy. Again, it's almost like wargaming has jumped the shark at this point with World of Warships, and they're just like, let's do whatever. We've milked enough out of it. Let's just keep going. But I don't know. That's just me. Maybe that's the jaded, pessimistic me right now. But still interested to hear what you think. Take it easy, everyone. Have a great week. Catch you all later. Zoop out.